Hello guys, welcome back. Sacha Atherton here. You are tuned in to how I turn my pain into passion. We are on episode 5, I can't believe it. So this episode is called Single Mum and the Maternity Monster. It will all make sense soon, I promise. So where do I even start with this one? So I became a single mum when Jaya was about 10 months old. The relationship with her dad was very toxic throughout pregnancy and beyond. And in truth, I felt like a single mum in many ways, even before he left. So I was actually the one that made the decision that enough was enough. But throughout the pregnancy, I was driven by this need, and I was a little bit obsessed with it, I suppose, to make sure Jaya had a family unit, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the situation, regardless of how I felt. I felt like she deserved to have both parents in the house. So that kept me in this situation longer than I should have been, I suppose. But then, as I said, enough was enough. Around the same time, I was due to go back to work from maternity leave. And before I left, my manager was fantastic. She was great, but she left. And then the person that temporarily replaced her was even better. Just absolutely brilliant. I had a few health problems throughout pregnancy, things like migraines and back problems that I still suffer with a bit today. Couldn't sleep most of the time. So she used to let me work from home a lot of the time, just so that when my body would actually let me rest, I could actually just get my head down. The work was done. She really didn't care, how or where. And I also had a very traumatic birth. So Jaya's heart rate plummeted suddenly. And they had to rush me into theatre and do an emergency C-section. And it was touch and go for us both in the hospital. So to have something like that happen, the worst thing that's ever happened to me, the scariest thing that I've ever experienced, and still the relationship after something like that was broken. So I think that was what kind of made me realize that something needed to change. So all of that, and then I'm due to go back to work, and shortly before I go back, I found out that the lovely, amazing manager had left. And what I was to find out is that she had been replaced by someone that was a total opposite of her. The worst type of manager that you could have as a returner, honestly. She had no children, had no desire, no interest to understand what it was like to be a parent, to be a new parent, a returner, a working parent. Nothing at all. Micromanagement was her thing. She loved it. It wasn't mine. It still is not. I am not a fan of micromanagement at all. So there was a lot of clashing there. We clashed big time. This is the maternity monster, by the way. So yeah, really tough transition back into work. I didn't really have any support. I had the usual meeting before you go back to work, the HR tick the box stuff. No real support, and then a manager that just made the whole thing even worse. I lost all confidence in the relationship. I lost all confidence when I had Jaya in so many ways. So going back to work to that situation was it was hard. I went into a slightly different role, so it was product innovation, which I quite enjoyed. I enjoyed that because I'm very innovative. The unfortunate thing, even more unfortunate, was that what we quickly found out and more so further down the line, was that the head of department, which was her manager, had some very traditional views in terms of mums, working parents, flexible working and that kind of thing. So that came to light a bit later on. And actually, just before I went back to work on maternity, as if enough hadn't happened, a huge bombshell. There was a huge bombshell. Something massive happened. So I'm going to tell you about that in the next episode. You have to tune in to find out what it was. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm really pleased that you're all enjoying it so far. Thank you very much for the feedback. And I shall see you in episode 6. Keep it all